yesterday, we were talking about the two different versions of a potential aid bill that had been passed. So you had the Senate version and you had the House version. There were some similarities in terms of the amount of money. One was $4.5 billion, one was $4.6 billion. But once you get into the details, the bills were very different. The Senate bill was purposefully designed to provide very little regulation on what that money would actually be spent on. And it's not impossible to assume that some or most or all of it could end up going to building a wall, not to actually improving the conditions of children who are being forced to live 20 to a tiny little cell with no soap, no toothbrushes, no blankets, all of that. The horrendous conditions that we've described a number of different times. The money might go that way, but the Republicans in the Senate were very opposed to having actual regulations in the bill that required the money to be spent in that fashion. The House bill did have more regulations. Well, unfortunately, although there had been a lot of pushback against that Senate version of the bill, that is the version that the House ended up supporting. And there were some quotes along the way from Nancy Pelosi who she was like, our arms are really just being twisted. I don't love the bill, but we gotta vote for it. And she said, in order to get resources to the children fastest, we will reluctantly pass the Senate bill. As we pass the Senate bill, we will do so with a battle cry as to how we go forward to protect children in a way that truly honors their dignity and their worth. And that battle cry sounds like, that's the battle cry. You passed your version. Did you fight them on it? Did you try to force them to do something about it? The country is appalled at the condition in these facilities. Did you make a big deal out of that to try to get your way? No, you're reluctant. Well, that makes me feel better. When that money goes to building a wall, that will make me feel better that you felt reluctant about it at the time.
And people are still dying and babies are still not having toothbrushes, not having adequate food or blankets or clothes, taking care of each other. Now, this is absurd. We don't have the resources to bring these families back together after they're separated.
Or they're sucking our economy of the money and the jobs that we're entitled to. And then we can throw down $4.6 billion that is probably gonna be rerouted to the military or securitizing and militarizing the border. I've been telling-
Or used for paint,
right?
Which happened.
Actually
happened.
Not surprised. I've been telling folks that if you went to Europe or were in Europe and participated around helping refugees in Greece, they're like 3 years ahead of everything that we're dealing with now. Like the photo of Oscar and Valeria, Aylan, who was a Syrian Kurdish kid who washed up, was a toddler that washed up on the Turkish shore. But they had something very similar to this sort of bill, which was called the EU-Turkey deal. And they put billions of dollars set aside to deal with the refugee issue. And a lot of that money went to securitizing the sea so that they could, catch people who were trying to come to Greece and send them back to Turkey.
Yeah.
So it was not about helping people.
No, it's not at all. And I have more on that in just a second. I did want to briefly mention though, that I believe something like 100 votes went against that version of the bill in the House, including AOC, Presley, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, a number of, the people that you would expect, honestly. And we have a bit of video from Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on the reason that she opposes that version.
Explain why you're taking such a strong stance here.
Because, Jake, this is an issue not just of the substance of the bill, but also the process of how we got here. We passed a House version of this bill, which had far more humanitarian provisions and accountability for the facilities that are abusing kids at our border. And Mitch McConnell immediately smacked it down in order to pass and ram through a Senate bill that has an enormous amount of funding for military, as well as no guardrails and no accountability for facilities that are abusing our kids. So that's the bill that's in front of us here in front of the House. However, we didn't even bother to negotiate. There are House amendments. We could have negotiated it in. We could have conferenced. We could have tried to get amendments in, to get humanitarian provisions put in, to get consequences for facilities that abuse kids in. And instead what we're doing is that we're immediately going to just saying yes to what got passed out of the Senate.
Yeah, so look, honestly, I will say that Nancy Pelosi can keep her reluctance. That is the expression of values that this actual conversation should have been held under.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because it's at the same time, she also mentions the detention facilities are probably gonna benefit from this. And again, same thing happened in Greece, private contractors benefited from the Turkey-EU deal. And we didn't get to the story, but there's in this moment where banks are pulling out of, Geo Group and CoreCivic, private companies that have created private prisons and also built up these detention centers that the House is passing this bill to probably swoop in and protect them.
Yeah, exactly. And look, Donald Trump is not a person that is big on learning, but I have a feeling he's going to learn a very important lesson from this. If he brutalizes these kids, if there's coverage of the brutality, if he kills a few of them too, what does he get? He gets billions of dollars to throw into a wall. Do you think that's going to lead to better conditions for the kids in the future? I kind of doubt it.
On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.